May the Lord give you his peace. The Gospel text that today's liturgy proposes for our reflection opens with the question of Jesus, which shows the evident sadness in the hearts of the disciples for the fact that he was leaving them. Now I'm going to the one who sent me. Not one of you asks, "Where are you going?" It is clear that for the disciples, the fact that Jesus was leaving them was a cause of suffering. Jesus underlines this fact by stating, "Yet you are sad at heart because I have told you this." When St. Augustine explains the sentiment of loneliness that the disciples experienced, in his commentary on the Gospel of John, he says, "They were afraid, thinking that they would lose the visible presence of Christ. They were sad in their human affections when they thought that their eyes would not find any more consolation, since they would not see him any longer." Jesus tries to dissipate this sadness caused by his future absence, and he also tries to make them understand the true reason of his going away. In fact, his departure and his separation from them were the conditions so that the Holy Spirit would come upon them. That is why he tells them, "Unless I go, the Paraclete will not come to you." Then he continues to describe the mission of the Paraclete and presents him as the one who will accuse the world that was guilty to having condemned Jesus in the process that would take part in the presence of God. In the following verse, John says, "He will show the world how wrong it was about sin, and then about sin in that they refused to believe in me." Therefore, the Paraclete interrogates, he plays under trial, he brings in the light the proof of guilt. He gives proof that the world regarding the sin that it committed against Jesus. But what kind of sin was this? It was the sin of unbelief. In chapter 6, verse 36, Jesus says, "But as I have told you, you can see me and still you do not believe." Besides, the fact that men think that Jesus is a sinner constitutes a guilt that cannot be excused, as we find in John 15, verse 22. If I had not come, if I had not spoken to them, they would have been blameless. But as it is, they have no excuse for their sin. Anyone who hates me hates my Father. Thus the Spirit is the one who guarantees the work of Jesus. He uncovers the guilt of those who refuse to believe. He renders justice to the glorification of Jesus and reveals the fact that the prince of this world, namely Satan, has already been condemned. It will be the Spirit, in fact, who directly shows the justice of Christ by protecting the disciples and the entire community of the Church. When the Paraclete comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth, who issues from the Father, he will be my witness. The world that believed that I had judged Jesus, that it had judged Jesus by condemning him, is in its turn condemned by the prince of this world, since it was responsible for having crucified Jesus. Therefore, the Spirit gives witness to all regarding the meaning of the death of Jesus, which coincides with the fact that the sin has been nailed to the cross, and therefore Satan has seen his downfall. Jesus asks us to rejoice in his absence, in order to make space in our hearts for his Spirit to come to us. It is thanks to the Spirit that each and every one of us in our own hearts can make an experience of God. It is the Spirit that guides us to have an upright conscience and a just balance regarding the dark shades in each and every one of us, which are a sign of the consequence of the original sin. Therefore, the Spirit invites us to be vigilant, like the almond branch that flowers in the book of Jeremiah. In fact, in Hebrew, the name almond is similar to the verb to be vigilant. It is a sign of how God is vigilant in the actualization of his word. The almond is the first tree to flower in the expectation of spring. Blessed Mary Alphonsine has profoundly incarnated this biblical figure in her life. Ever since she was a young girl, when at 17 years of age, she presented herself at the door of the Sisters of Saint Joseph of the Apparition in order to answer her calling. The topical moments of her life have always seen her on Calvary, her vesting, her religious vows. The Holy Mass celebrated on 10 July 1880 at the altar of the Sorrowful Virgin before she founded the first religious family of the Rosary Sisters in the small and poor convent between the Latin Patriarchate and the parish of St. Sergio. How can we not remember the mystical experiences of the Blessed Alphonsine, to whom the Virgin Mary appeared more than once and made her understand that the foundation of this new religious family was her own desire. These experiences became known only after she died, when her diary could be read, written according to the indication given to her by Father Joseph Tannus, the priest who would reveal himself fundamental in the history of the new foundation. Here we are therefore gathered in preparation to the coming canonization of our blessed, which will take place together with that of another great saint of the Palestine, Miriam Bawardi. My best wishes to all of you who follow the footsteps of your foundress are that you will always be vigilant, like the almond branch which flowers in the book of the prophet Jeremiah, in order to be always attentive to the promotings of the Spirit and to promote evermore the dignity of our home.